Genesis, Watcher of the Skies. Come on.
That's one hell of an intro. Hello, guitar pedal nerds who are again asking themselves, why is a bass player sitting there? Because I don't give a flying rat's ass. I wanted to talk to him, so you either watch it or go away. And obviously, Billy Sheehan doesn't need any introduction. He's the incomparable Billy Sheehan. And he very clearly had Yamaha make a bass especially for this interview because we're matching.
Yeah, we called ahead and we made sure.
Yeah. And the shoes and my watch, and if I don't want to show you, but the underwear is also matching, at least on this side.
We don't need to see that, but
no, really don't need to see that. Thanks for coming to talk to a guitar player who is here by accident.
All right.
And when I had to pick people to interview, I was like, there's all these bass players. What do I know? And I talked to John B. Williams. I'm not a jazz guy. I mean, I went to Berkeley, but I'm not a jazz guy. So we had the greatest talk about how does walk-in bass work. I still don't know, but it was awesome. But when I saw your name, I said, I don't have to think about questions because they've been building up for years.
Well, all right. Well, now they'll build up into an explosion of interrogation.
Mr. Big, for me, the only band that I've seen more than once, that I've seen you guys 3 times.
Wow.
The only band that I would go and see again. Just yesterday, we were sitting in the hotel bar. It was late. The guy behind the camera doesn't remember. And they were playing Just Take My Heart. And that took me back to whenever that album came out, I don't know, Frankfurt Music Hall, standing there with my girlfriend, holding her while you guys were playing that, and that's gonna be a memory that's ingrained in my head forever. And first, thank you for that.
Well,
thank you.
I'm glad when I'm involved with a song that has that kind of effect on people. That's a wonderful thing. We, being in music is always, get that before it starts trouble, is always, for me, as a fan, I'm affected by a lot of songs. A great song comes along, and it just does so much for me. When I find out that I'm involved in a song that does something similar, hopefully to someone else, that's the biggest
Mr. Big was very big for me when I started playing guitar. Paul, obviously, being a huge influence, and it's always very emotional. But you guys do this balancing act. I mean, anything you do this balancing act between it's a song, it needs to be listenable, if that's even a word, and it's I'm going to call it pop music. I'm sorry, that's not an evil word.
It's fine.
It's not an evil word.
I've got nothing against pop music.
So
my only caveat about pop music is I prefer pop music that's made by actual people.
Yes.
And I think a lot of pop music now that's on the charts is kind of designed to sell. It's designed to appeal. Where something happens to appeal, I like that. But if someone's trying to work out a way to get into my head and into my heart and into my wallet, I don't like that.
And people going in the studio, okay, you sing whatever you want, we'll make that melody later.
Exactly.
That's not happening.
Yeah, we did not have pitch correction. Really? It didn't exist for all those Mr. Big records.
Well, Eric doesn't need that.
No, he's got a great voice.
Yeah, well, hell yeah.
Spectacular.
And especially on Just Like My Heart, I mean, what freaking people, what are the chances that I'm sitting in the hotel bar the evening before I'm talking to this guy, and then they are playing this song, one in a gajillion, and there's this interlude after the chorus that's a bass melody. And not a lot of people would have the balls to just say, yeah, he's a ballad, let's throw in a bass melody as a hook, and then also make it work.
Well, thank you very much saying that it works. But in fact, it's not an uncommon thing to have the bass do a little thing. within a song. In Motown music, the bass is the most active instrument in the mix. The bass is moving more than anything else. And a lot of the Beatles stuff, the bass is moving more than anything else. A Little Help from My Friends is almost like a giant bass solo, but it's so great. And so what we try to do, bass players, when we're doing something musical, is think vocally. Think about what would work here, what kind of a melody would work vocally. That's why I think there's some very successful bass players that are great singers as well. Sting, Lemmy, Geddy Lee, Paul McCartney, of course, Doug Pinnick, long list of great.
I love Richard Boner. And
Fantastic.
If anyone can sing while he plays, holy crap.
Brilliant. So that connection, because bass is really a connection between the drums and pitch or melody. We take the drums and give it a pitch, and then you build melody for there. So the bass is really an interesting, holds an interesting place because we're the thing in between the two main factors of music, pitch and time.
But this thinking, this is for me it sounds like the session player way of thinking, like Lee Sklar would be thinking. It's like, okay, how can I be serving the rhythm while I'm serving the melody? And that's what, in all the music that you've done, for me is impressive because it is wanky kind of music in points. It's like, but you pick those spots.
Yeah, it's got to be well balanced.
And then it comes back to a driving rock thing or a ballad, and where you can just lay back and say, hey, this is total. Paul can just go play the riff, and it's an easy riff, and it's cool. And then 2 beats, freak out, and then come back. But it's well placed, and a lot of bands miss that. A lot of bands really miss that. Good. The song has to come first.
Exactly.
No matter what I can do on the instrument, with you guys, I always feel you have that sensibility.
Exactly. Well, I put Mr. Big together in 1988, and I chose Eric, I chose Paul, I chose Pat as the players because I thought we would be able to do exactly that. With Eric's voice, Paul's, though he's known for his shredding, he's a real song-sensitive guy.
Yes.
And he knows a million songs. And I played in copy bands for enough years, played enough songs, verse, chorus, put enough
you know
together.
Song form.
And so the band was put together with that in mind, with the fact that we can blast when we need to, but only when we need to. At other times, Green to the 60s Mind, the harmonies we do, and a lot of other songs. It's just really, we were very, very fortunate to all land together in that same band and make it work.
Talking about the harmonies, one thing I always tell people when I say, okay, I saw Mr. Big and you can't freaking believe it, go and see him, and is I always say, well, a band needs to have the show and the appearance and everything worked out. And with you guys, I always have the feeling there's 4 guys up on stage, there's no special wind machines or lighting or whatever, and you just go on stage the way you are, but there is this super mega raw energy, and then everyone is singing, and it comes together. Just people playing their instruments, being talented. And I'm a huge Aerosmith fan, so not that you guys from Aerosmith will ever see this, so why am I even apologizing? Screw you. Sorry. But I saw you guys in Frankfurt in the huge hall opening for Aerosmith. And obviously there was a big curtain and you had, you were the opening band.
Yep.
And they didn't hold a candle to the energy that you brought on the stage with the limitations of being an opening act.
Well,
and they came and there was wind machines, everything was big, and it was Aerosmith, it was huge.
Oh yeah.
But the energy was a little bit down. Here now, coffee talk. You guys know on my channel we drink coffee. Anna?
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you so much. Very kind of you, thank you.
Anna is the goddess here, and without her we would not have liquid gold. Thank you.
Day. All right, very nice. I hope people don't mind while I indulge here.
No, this is what we do. My pedal demos are usually like 20, 30 minutes long, and there's a lot of coffee drinking, and I always say, before I start, go grab a coffee because this could take a while.
Right on. Just a touch of sugar, so I'm a low carb, no sugar person, but
yeah, a little bit.
It's just flavoring. Cool. So well, thank you very much. The Aerosmith tour was very interesting because we didn't know, but in the background, they were trying to get us off the tour.
Okay.
Because we were scoring. Now, in their defense, and I could see why a band would think that, where they're a huge band, they got some opening act, and You know,
You don't want
the
your opening act to outshine you, but for me, this is really what happened.
And we can't outshine Aerosmith. But I see why they might think that, you know, sometimes in a situation. But I love Aerosmith, and they were awesome on the tour. Steven Tyler kicked ass on the tour. We were so pleased to be out there. But behind the scenes, management-wise, they were trying to get us off there. And the thing that saved us is our sound man. His name is Kevin Elson, legendary live sound mixer, incredible, and producer. He produced all the Mr. Big records and all the other ones. And he did such a great sound job on us live that about a week into the tour, Tom Hamilton and Joe Perry came to our dressing room and said, would you mind if Kevin came out and listened to our show? And I see it coming. Sure enough, within 2 weeks, Kevin would mix our show, come back, towel off, and go out and mix Aerosmith.
Because Aerosmith, it was muddy. I mean, there was showing Steven Tyler. I mean, there was this.
Yeah,
yes, they were there,
but
but I couldn't hear anything. And you guys were on stage, and it was clear.
Yeah, I think, and it had a lot to do with Kevin Elson. He's a genius live mixer, great producer.
It helps tremendously if your producer who knows what he did in the studio is behind the board. The bands that I produce in my studio, when they ask me, hey, can you mix live? They appreciate a lot because I know when the solo's coming and I see the guy doesn't have the delay on, and then I go tap and kick it in. No other sound engineer usually does that. You've done a billion things. I can only hit on a couple.
There's so many questions you can't even remember.
Well, it really is. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna talk from my life's experience with Billy Sheehan because you know what, I don't have anyone else's life, so that's it. I lived in LA reluctantly for a while. After Berkeley, my teacher said, "Hey, you go to LA and you win Grammys." I'm like, "Yeah, right, whatever." Didn't happen. But I went to LA anyway, and you guys played with Niacin at the Baked Potato. And I didn't know what the Baked Potato was. I knew what Niacin was. So my friend said, hey, let's go and see that. I'm like, hell yeah. And so just for you guys to know, in LA, there aren't these huge, amazing clubs. They probably have that too, but in the scene, there's the Baked Potato, and you play there when you're hot shit. And it's a tiny little...
It's about the size of this room.
It's a bar. It doesn't even have a stage.
Small. Not really.
There isn't a stage, so they just move a couple of tables, old school, and put Phil Extra said he played at the Baked Potato. And so I'm there, and he has no clue, but I was sitting right next to him. And there was Dennis Chambers and John Novello and the big ass, I mean, they actually brought the freaking, the B3 in there. And it was this wall of sound. It was amazing. And I loved it. I mean, it was so intimate.
I love the baked potato shows are really great because people are sitting even closer than we're sitting now. Yeah. And I keep my drink. Do you mind if I put my drink on your table? And there's, no, go ahead. And there's more pressure to do a gig like that than the huge gigs, because people are right there. Hey, how you doing? You checking out my bass playing here? And I did shows with Richie Kotzen in Japan, opening up for the Rolling Stones, and we did the Tokyo Dome.
That's different than the Baked Potato. Holy crap!
We had to get in a van, leave our dressing room, go out of the building, get in a van, and drive around to get. I swear to God, to get to the stage to play the show. There was. I think the Rolling Stones stage required 5 FedEx 747s to move.
What?
It's logistics. There was a room the size of a hockey rink. It was just people on laptops all day long doing logistics for the tour, advancing stuff and everything.
And Richie Kotzen played opening for the Stones.
Yeah, in Japan. We did 5 shows with them. Wow. So we did.
Okay.
But my point is that the closest person in the audience, their face was unrecognizable to me. And I don't have bad eyesight, I have pretty good eyes, but I could not even recognize anyone in the front row because they were so far away.
It's taking the intimacy completely out of the picture.
And it was like playing alone. We could hear on the distance, people roaring and cheering and all that. That was nice, but we're looking at each other like, we're up here all by ourselves. And the closest person, I don't think I could throw a rock and hit him. They were so far away. But the baked potato, on the other hand, you got people right here. And it's really, I I'm much more nervous about doing a show with people right there than I am.
That is super interesting. Holy
This is a
crap.
crazy thing.
It was also for me an unforgettable. For some reason, it's always the Billy Sheehan involved things that are unforgettable. It might not be him, might just be, you know, where I am in my life at this point. But you did this thing where Dennis Chambers, who I'm a big fan of, who is very...
My favorite musician on any instrument
Really?
is Dennis Chambers.
I mean,
He is a grand master at his craft.
I got into Mike Stern at some point, and
With Dennis, he's amazing.
right now I'm saying Mike Stern, Dennis Chambers, I'm getting goosebumps.
Brilliant.
That was I'm not a jazz player. I can't do this.
Yeah, I'm not a
kind of
jazz
stuff.
guy.
But Mike Stern's brilliant, and
Genius.
Dennis gives him so much space, even though he doesn't have to. He could do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
Dennis knows when to completely pull back and do the little things.
He's
and
genius.
then you
He's a
see him in
genius.
the back potato. He was exploding. This guy, I mean,
Frightening.
he's playing the fattest laid-back groove, and then for a beat, there are these 30-second notes where he goes through the cymbals, on the toms, back through the cymbals, left, and then on the one, he's back on this super laid-back groove.
Perfectly landing, absolutely perfectly. in
It's
time.
like Tourette's on drums.
It's crazy. It's amazing.
And
But
you
he's been such a huge influence on me because my whole lifetime I played basically in white rock bands, and there's a time to it, and it's great. It's awesome. And suddenly Dennis comes along. It's a whole different way of treating time. And as a bass player, I'm all about the drums. Drums are everything to me. And it was just like getting a PhD in time, how to treat time, working with Dennis. And Dennis is a great rock player also. A lot of funk and jazz guys can't do rock. They think they can, but it's really not rock. It's like not same way rock guys try to do jazz. It ain't
Not happening.
jazz. It ain't jazz. But Dennis can really play great rock drums also, which is why he's perfect for Niacin, because we do some stuff that's a little bit funkified, a little bit proggy, a little bit jazzy or fusiony, and then when we want to play something, hit it hard, Dennis kills on that stuff. So he really changed my life, and he really is the greatest musician I know on any instrument, and I know some great players.
I wanted
I'm
to
lucky
just
too.
say something else about Dennis Chambers and what you did during the show, but I got to interject because this is freaking amazing. These guys play bass, drums, and B3 organ. Okay, there's no singing, no guitar, which is hey, why even listen? But sorry. While you were talking, I haven't listened to the first Niacin album in a long time, but I just got a full hook in my head.
Yeah,
That is this.
Yeah.
How is it possible? Can you play that?
yeah. We just keep that over and over and over, and then Dennis.
It's
would
an
do a drum
ostinato,
solo.
right? And then, but
Dennis
10
would do a drum solo over that, and I just have to hold it and keep time all by myself. And Dennis takes time to another universe.
which
and I
is
gotta
exactly
hang-
where I was going to go.
I gotta keep that together the whole
Which
time.
is exactly where I was going to go next.
Just
But
keeping the time, and it was just a great experience.
how amazing is it to write a bass organ hook that probably, I'm going to say 10 years has stuck in my head. And just by looking at the guy, the melody comes in my head. I mean,
Right.
that's
glad.
writing. I'm sorry. I don't want to blow sugar up your ass. It's in your coffee, but that's writing right there. So talking about the time, you guys did this thing where Dennis has his drum solo and just being the freaking coolest guy ever, chewing gum,
Mind-blowing.
just sitting there. And I think what you tried to do was try to get him out.
Yeah.
I think you were trying to just like,
He's purposely trying to do stuff to throw me off that line.
Yeah.
And he's going completely out of time, but he knows where he is.
no, but during his drum solo,
Yeah.
like a different song,
Yeah.
like in the middle of the show,
Right.
he had a drum solo by himself.
I see what you're saying.
And you were going and you were trying to do stuff, I think, to like make him fumble.
Yeah.
And did that ever work? Did you ever get him to lose his place?
I think once he was maybe a quarter note to the left. Once in his entire, and he probably did it on purpose anyway. No, Dennis is a grand master, and I've been very lucky to play with people I mean, just about everybody I work with, I got nothing but good things to say about because there's some incredible talent, and it's always been inspirational to me. It's always influenced me positively. Dennis is the biggest one, though, the biggest.
I can absolutely see that.
And some guys I've worked with, Steve Vai, genius, brilliant player. Tony McAlpine, unbelievable. Paul Gilbert, mind-blowing. Now Richie Costin, incredible. Mike Portnoy on drums. Did a session with Vinnie Caliuta.
Those are some players.
Yeah, Steve Smith, a lot of great drummers and players, and I love them all. They've all left a positive mark on me, but Dennis has got a little special spot in my heart.
I can see why they. I mean,
Right.
it must be like, okay, to play with this guy, I need to step up now. I mean,
Yeah.
with all these guys, I mean, you don't go on
Absolutely.
stage and you don't with Steve Vai and say, well, just day job, whatever. But let's go to Steve Vai, which for me, I don't know if you know this thing, when Passion and Warfare came out, they had these huge, like life-sized cardboard things in guitar stores with a cover on it.
Yeah.
And I actually got one of those, and that was actually Steve Vai life-size in my room when I was like 17. I geeked out big on Steve Vai, and I still have like now. I think the only one left is like my white gem, which I rarely touch, but I'll never sell.
Cool. We just had a dinner together, myself, Greg Bissonette, Steve Vai, the original Eat 'Em and Smile.
Yeah.
And just last Friday.
Really?
And I tweeted a photo of it, and I've never gotten more response from a photo than ever before. The comments were going on forever. Steve's just like a brother to me.
I don't want to reveal anything or have Phil X beat me up because I'm saying this now, but you know what? Hey, whatever. I couldn't take him. I don't care. Yesterday we're standing around. I'm saying tomorrow I'm interviewing Billy Sheehan, and then Phil X was like, "Oh man, Billy Sheehan, dude, we should like totally like ask him to like come up on stage and do Shy Boy. Can we do Shy Boy? Can you do Shy Boy?" And the drummer's like, "I don't have a double pedal, but I'm a..." And he was like, he was totally geeking out on like doing this, and knowing him, he probably can play that bastard.
Well, we have jammed that a couple times, and we put it on the Steve Vai set, and we did, and the song has followed me around. But I'm just glad when I started the band with Dave Roth, he liked the song, and we ended up using it, and he's very generous of him. He allowed me to keep all my publishing royalties off the song.
Awesome.
Dave was great to us. He was very generous.
That is energy squared or cubed. That thing is. I couldn't handle a whole album of that. That would be a little bit too much.
It'd be like a whole movie of car chases.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have a romantic scene once in a while. You gotta have it To Be With You, Just Like My Heart,
Yeah.
then a car chase, and then a comedy moment. Who knows?
Steve Vai, when you're a sideman for Steve. You know, Steve always has great people on stage, but varying people.
Yeah.
And I had the great pleasure of having Mike Keneally on one of my songs. An afternoon I will never forget. Download it on iTunes. Pay for it. You fuckers.
He's shilling for the song. Go ahead.
You know, it is called Last Chance to See. Get it. Was mind-blowing. But with Steve, you have a very unique voice. I mean, I would say the most unique voice on bass out there. There's amazing bass players, but for me, you would be the one that I could pick out after 3 notes before any other bass player.
Well, thank you. It's mostly hands. Even if I play on a different bass and a different amp, it's going to sound like that.
It's your voice, but it's also what you play. Everything together. But the thing is, you have a chance in all these things that you do to be you. But when you're on the job with Steve, do you then go into like, okay, I'm the sideman, I'll play what needs to be done here, or
exactly what I do.
In the way Steve needs it, or
I do when I'm there with Steve. I'm playing in his band, and we had a wonderful time. And he gave me all kinds of free room and
Obviously.
solos and singing, and played a song off my solo record. Very generous. But when it's time to play, I play exactly that. Because when I first got together with him, I'd never heard that song. I wasn't familiar with Steve's solo work. And we started to play that song, and I said, okay, for the love of God, here we go. I go, He's playing along. I go, wait, what? It's just a little, he goes, what was that? I go, I'm going to passing tone. He goes, is that on the record? I go, no. He goes, play it like the record. So I realized, I get it. He wants it exactly, but great. So I thought, for me, that's a challenge because that's not what I do. So I was glad to have a challenge to pull me out of my comfort zone of my normal improv, move around, interpret, stay true to the original song, but it takes him. Steve didn't want to do that. He's more like a true classical composer who wants a piece to be performed as it is written. So I said, that's great. It's a great opportunity for me to meet a challenge. So I said, oh, damn it, I'm going to play that song exactly. And I did. And I remember when we did the sound check for the Live at the Astoria shows that were on DVD.
Which I have.
Great. We recorded, I think we did 2 nights there, and each day we recorded the entire show in sound check, then performed the whole show. Next day, performed the entire show in sound check, and then recorded the whole show at night also. So in case there's any dropouts or problem or something, the microphone went bad, you've got all these extra tracks to fix stuff. That's what you do. So I remember the first day when we were doing the sound check, I just planted myself there and I'm going to play this exactly. And Steve sat in a chair in the middle of the band, didn't play, and just listened to the whole band run through all the band's parts for the entire show. Got up at the end, came over, gave me a big hug, and I thought, mission accomplished.
Well, that's the
what I wanted
Zappa school of being totally in control as the band leader. I mean, that's where that comes from. But there's something to be said for that. I mean, that's why he is where he is.
Yeah, I know, and I love it. And it doesn't have to be my thing, but a lot of things that aren't my thing are just so awesome that to rise to the challenge to do them is a great exercise in trying to expand your ability as a player. Expand your scope as an artist or musician. So it was a wonderful thing and a great experience to play with Steve in that respect. To really be a sideman, to let Steve, it's your show. What do you want? Okay.
So guys, this is what it means to be a freaking professional. A lot of people don't get this. We'll talk about that in great detail when we're more by ourselves. I have 1 or 2 more questions, but before I miss this, otherwise I get heat from some guys. Talk about a little bit about equipment, because I see you got the Polytune clip up there, and if I'm going to mention that...
This thing?
Yes.
Oh yeah, this is the first time I've ever had it on the bass. It's just a little, it's made by TC.
My friends, that's why I'm pointing it out, because I see you got that there, and I know if I mention this now, they love me. So. Well,
TC's a great company.
Yes, hell yeah.
Matter of fact, on the Steve Vai tour, I used the voice live for harmonies for my singing.
Cool.
Man, I think it worked amazing, incredible. But I've always liked TC, and I just had a encounter with Steve's roadie, Mr. Thomas Nordegg, legendary Thomas Nordegg, and he pulled this out of his pocket and gave it to me.
They sent me one, and we have one here. This is Paul's.
Beautiful.
It's great. I see they want to steal you from us, so I need to ask one more thing.
Sure.
Because this morning I posted this pic where he's in the car. We're driving him here because he was at the hotel, and you can't see him at all. He's completely hidden. But I say, hey, Billy Sheehan behind the bass bag. Just trust me. So Hubert Hochleitner, do you know that name?
Who?
Hubert Hochleitner.
No.
Okay. He writes me immediately through Facebook. Ask him this and this and this. Deflex.
I know what that is.
Plasticky things in front of your speaker.
Exactly.
And Hubert is this guy. He doesn't have a booth at the NAMM show anywhere. He just runs around and he networks. And he's a social media mega freak. And so he immediately picks up Billy Sheehan. Ask him this in the interview. And I play 2 of these in front of my 112 amps. They're insane. He said that you tried it or you had it, and he sent you an email explaining a couple more things.
I'm actually excited about it. It's going to be something I am going to utilize upcoming Winery Dogs tour because I like that dispersion idea, and it seems like a great assist to getting sound spread out on stage. Sometimes I'm on a small stage and I'm so close to the amp I really can't hear. It's kind of blowing past me. So that will, especially for my high frequencies, work good.
Absolutely. I have 2 112 amps on stage for a stereo rig, and I rarely play live, but the 15-watt amps, I have them on like 10 o'clock, not loud at all, and I've got nothing on the monitors. It's all coming through, Deflex is spreading it everywhere. Absolutely insane. Obviously, your tone very, very, very unique, and you said you can sound like that on any system. So really, where
It
does
has to do
come
with
from?
where your hands are on the string, how your fingers go across the string, and a million other little abstractions that make a player play the way. And I think it usually takes a player 5, 7, maybe 10 years for his hands really to come into their own and they really sound like him.
Because back in the day, I don't know, 90s somewhere, there were always these interviews, and there were these huge refrigerator racks, and you had the Pierce preamp in there, which I have one of those. I bought it at some point for
Really?
guitar.
Want to sell it?
Sure.
Okay.
It's in my attic.
All right.
I'll send it to you.
Good.
It's just sitting there.
Great.
Pierce G1 preamp, right?
Yeah.
So.
One of the original made by Dan Pierce, modified for me by Dan, and I'm just got the Kemper profiling amp, and I'm going to take it to the studio and do a microscopic profile of that G1, that my original Pierce.
If you want mine, it's yours.
Cool.
You can have it.
Thank you.
It's just sitting around.
Excellent.
You let me know how to get it to you, not a problem.
I'll trade you something for it. Deal. We have deal.
These refrigerator racks, and then you play this and this and this. Now, one always thinks you need this, but I mean, I'm sitting here, you're playing through this thing, you put on the compression, and we're right there. We are, I think I probably have to disclose that, we are recording this DI, and we're also recording, I think, directly just in there, directly your pickup out. It's gonna sound like you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still there. So love it or hate it, that's what you get.
So if I share the completely direct bass to recording device Billy Sheehan sound, is that okay if I let people hear that?
Sure. I meant. Something like that.
That's it
A
freaking
mess.
right
Apologize.
there. Okay, very last question.
We're good.
Do you need him right now, or can I ask another question?
Yeah, ask another question, then everybody lunch. It's fine.
That's good.
Oh, lunch, right? We need to
Sure,
eat.
we're
They have
fine.
the most amazing food. Winery Dogs.
Yeah.
I have a student, long-hair guitar freak, who's super into Richie Kotzen, and me too, but the discs are hard to get. And he had the Winery Dogs album, and he brought it over and said, okay, you gotta listen to it, you gotta listen to it. It was sitting there for half a year, and I completely forgot about it. And you know when I started listening to it? On the way here. So I'm highly embarrassed about this.
So what do you think?
Richie's amazing.
Brilliant.
His voice,
He's
his
superstar.
sensibility for songs, his playing the fucker with his fingers. I'm sorry, but it's just
He's a superstar.
one of the best shows I've ever seen. Wetzlar, that's a tiny little town 5 minutes from me. On a tiny little stage, I'm standing right in front of him. Richie Kotzen trio.
Yeah, it's great. Great
Oh
experience.
my frickin' lord!
Beautiful.
One channel, one amp, 212, one guitar. And he does it all with 2 pickups and his fingers and a volume.
Yep.
The biggest lesson for any guitar player.
Yep.
All my students that were there said, okay, that was it.
I get it now.
I get it now. Again, goosebumps.
Look at that.
And so I listen to this and obviously I hear Richie Kotzen, but I also hear Mr. Big. I hear a lot of that. So
Not a bad thing if it's.
no.
I love Mr.
The
Big,
poppy kind of rock amalgam of stuff, if that's a word.
Yeah.
That must be your fingerprint in there. I mean, nothing major, against Mr. Drummerman, but Portnoy isn't known for his pop sensibilities necessarily.
But you might be surprised because Mike really is a grand master at understanding all kinds of music, and he's a huge fan of basically, people think right away he's this prog guy because of his past with his other bands, but in fact, he can sit down and do any Who song, any Led Zeppelin song, any Beatles song.
He's done all these projects. I mean, with Paul, he did the Led
Right.
Zeppelin thing.
And he's a huge fan of that music, and he's a huge fan of great popular music. Not necessarily pop, so to speak, but great popular music. So we never discussed how are we going to approach this record.
Just play.
We never had a plan. we just all sat down and played. So when you hear the song like Regret, which is the last song on the record, which is just tears my heart out. Mike is pulling way back into this totally awesome groove, just bringing this beautiful ballad to life, and just incredible emotional lyrics. And it's just I played it for Dennis Chambers, and Dennis goes, "Man, I've never heard Mike play like that before."
And that was exactly what I was going to say, because it doesn't sound like Mike Portnoy. I lately have been avoiding a lot of the stuff that he's been doing, and that is purely personal. I've done an album with James LeBrie. He sang for me highlight of my life, amazing guy. But then you hear a little bit of things from, just it could be one sentence, and you're like, "Oh, Mike said that. I don't like Mike." So. It's a personal thing.
Oh yeah,
but
sometimes you take a rest from an artist. I love Mike's plan, and I love his sensibility, and I love the fact that he really deeply knows what he's doing. So if it's a song that I've played for 10 years, and I think just the lyrics of the second chorus, Mike knows them.
Really?
Oh yeah. But on the tail end, when we go into that part, no, it's four measures. Are you sure? Check the record. That's four measures.
Holy crap.
He really knows.
He really impressed me on this album because it sounded just like a rock drummer.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like him imposing his past on it in any way.
Yeah. And again, that was Mike being a part of a band as opposed to being a bunch of individuals all doing your own thing.
Which is what Dream Theater turned out to be before he left hardcore.
I'm not that familiar with the band, but if you happen to be a fan of them, you would know better than I. Because I'm friends with all those guys, and I've met them all, and they're all nice folks, but it wasn't necessarily my thing, which doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that there's only 24 hours in a day and only so much time to listen to things.
Hey, I'm going to talk to Juan Alderete. Is that how you say that? Juan Alderete. Who played for the Mars Volta.
Yeah.
And he's a super pedal freak. He went on stage with 40 pedals on bass. If I grab him today, I'm going to talk to him. I'm not into the Mars Volta. It's as far away from the kind of music I want to listen to that. But you know what? You can't be into everything. He's a super nice guy. I'm going to talk to him. We're going to have a good time.
And I can appreciate a lot of bands that I never necessarily got into. Like, for example, Yes. I loved a lot of stuff, and Close to the Edge, and a couple other great, Fragile I like, but later on they lost me. But I still love the band. I have great respect for them. They're amazing. Chris Squire, icon. The one single note he plays in a roundabout after, I'll be the run. That one note is probably one of the most important bass notes ever played. Genius. But I wasn't really into the band so much.
That was a pretty big loss, by the way, this year. Facebook was going crazy with Chris Squire leaving us.
Yeah.
That was a day where I didn't see anything but pictures of him and saying goodbye.
Fortunately, I had the great honor and pleasure of hanging with him a couple of times, and he's just a wonderful, great guy. What an iconic bass player. I was with Stu Ham. We were at the trade show in Frankfurt, and Chris was there because we're all Rotosound. Chris and I were Rotosound guys, and Stu was out of his, just through the roof that he could hang with Chris because he was such a huge Chris Squire fan. Just great. I had a photo of myself, Chris Squire, Lemmy, and John Entwistle together at the Rainbow in L.A. And they had it up on the wall. Somebody stole it. So I don't have it anymore.
Damn it.
But we were all sitting and hanging, and there I was hanging with the big dogs, and just on cloud nine to hang.
Hey,
with
I'm hanging with Billy Sheehan, so don't tell me
Very
what
good.
that's like, okay? So we're gonna just leave you guys here because we want to have the most amazing freaking Warwick food. We haven't been here all week, but I will never eat like this again for a whole week straight.
Beautiful.
Seriously. So we're gonna take the geeky iPhone selfie Facebook picture, actually with him now being in front of his bass bag, I hope. This was this guy. And sorry there were no pedals or no guitar players, but you know what? I don't freaking care because I got to hang with Billy Sheehan.
Very kind of you. Very kind of you. All right. Well, thanks
And
for having me.
I will send you the preamp because I got no use for it.
Oh, thanks very much. I'll be sure it is well taken care of, and I'll think of something to trade you back. We'll come up with something.
That'd be way cool. Whatever it is, I will cherish it.
Beautiful.
Go away now.
Thank you very much.